Hi, this is Jason Gideon, and I'm going to do a review of my 2019 Polaris Ranger XP 1000 NorthStar Edition. I just got this a few weeks ago. It's the day before Christmas 2018, and just got back from the trails up there in Clark and Jackson County, Wisconsin. Put on about 100 miles here, which was its longest time trials. Otherwise, I just kind of been putting around here at our estate. So I just wanted to go through this. As you see that the unit is not clean, just coming fresh off the trails. I just wanted to give my first impressions of it. No scripts, nothing doctored up, just the real information and how I feel about the unit. And go from there. So pretty much everything is factory on it. Did add the factory side rails on here, which I did strap a spare tire to vertically, so it worked out pretty good. As you can see, the bed is pretty good size, and I have been cutting down some trees and been doing some hauling in it. And it works out relatively well. I'll show the dump feature here in a little bit. I did get the pneumatic dump feature for it instead of the manual one. Just added the hitch to it here. Factory tires and rims. They look pretty good from the factory. So I didn't change any of that. Did add on the front the Polaris brush guard with the extensions here that go up and around the headlights. I kind of get in some gnarly areas, both for pleasure and for work, and it's always a good idea to protect the front end of these things. Parts are typically not very cheap for them. Got the 6,500 pound winch. And the biggest significant upgrades I did was add quite a bit of lighting to it. So added the 9-inch Pro Armor light down there. I did add a turn signal kit, front and rear, and then these are my emergency strobes here. Stock headlights, which I will say are extremely poor. It's amazing the difference between the LED lights and just the halogen lights. So I would definitely recommend getting some aftermarket LED lights because the stock ones really suck and it's kind of a major safety issue. Up top here I did a big light bar. I don't know what size it is, probably like a 36-inch light bar for the front. And I did some smaller ones here for the sides. And then I ended up adding this one here for the rear. And then of course I have my LED beacon there, and then also my LEDs on the side right here. And then the turn signals are integrated into the factory LED lights there. And I will demonstrate those here shortly. So overall impressions, I like the white, looks good. They do have other colors available. When working with the dealer, we went through quite a bit of planning to get all of the stuff that we wanted to be added on. And what I thought was kind of cool from the factory, get this off of here, is they have these auxiliary power ports, I guess, or connectors that pretty much allow you to just connect and power up any device that you want without extensive amount of wiring and having to run through the vehicle and all that good stuff. So it kind of worked out. But underneath here, windshield wiper fluid, GPS stuff, coolant. Yeah, I think this is just the cabin filter. And of course we added a horn with the turn signal kit. Kind of nice to be able to give a little bit of audio cue to someone, or at least when we're around our heavy equipment and stuff like that. So now this one does come with 2 cameras. So put this back. One is here in the front, and then the other one is in the rear at the bottom. I have been out in quite different conditions, and they seem to stay relatively clean. They are kind of handy when you're trying to back up, hook up to a trailer, or just kind of navigating out in the forest, just seeing what's around you, because unlike an ATV, which I came from a Sportsman 1000 XP, you don't really have good 360 degree field of view, especially when you're going through woods and around rocks and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. I do wish I had some side mirrors. It would be kind of handy to have that, although I suspect they probably wouldn't stay on very long because they probably get knocked off. But when you get into this, you have a tendency of wanting to look out the sides because you're just used to it in a vehicle, but no big deal. The doors are, I guess, would be like suicide type doors. That gets a little used to. Most people that are unfamiliar with these always wants to go to the back of the door to open it up, but no big deal. I have had these off. All you got to do is just pop off, just pull this little rubber door closer deal here, and then just lift straight up on these removable door pins. The pins don't remove, they stay, but the door just slides off. I guess kind of like a Jeep. I don't know anything about Jeeps, but anyways, the door is rather heavy, which is okay for getting it on and off. I don't really see taking it on and off every day, but at least it's good heavy door, so I like the build quality on it. So that's what's going for it right there. Like I said, the interior, we just came back from riding, so we haven't made any changes here. So this is where we added our aftermarket turn signal, and then this controls the front strobes and the beacon on top. And then here we have the factory headlights, the front LEDs, side LEDs, and rear LEDs for work lights. They do have a vent down here, which is kind of nice to keep your feet warm. Speakers here down in the lower one, or in this layer area here. Plenty of little cubby space, as you can see here, to do what you need to do. Cup holders there, and there's obviously a cup holder over here, and also on the passenger side. The hazard light switch we added is right here, and then you also use the turn signal when the hazards are on to change flash patterns. So pretty typical dash, and of course we got the ride commander system, which I'll show you is pretty nifty. Vents you can kind of close off, open up, adjust them to where you need to go. For the center console here, you got 2 power outlets, which are only powered when the ignition is on. You got your air conditioning, heating controls, and defrost. It was about 28 degrees when we were riding, averaging in between 30 to 60 mile an hour, and there's plenty of times where we had to definitely turn down the heat. The heat works rather well, which I'm going to discuss that here a little bit later. This is your switch to control your drive system. One-wheel drive, which is good for like turf mode, so you don't tear up the yard when you're turning. 2-wheel drive, and then of course all-wheel drive. So it works out pretty good. And then you got some different work modes here. So this basically, from what I've experienced, is it just kind of pulls a little bit of power out. I don't know if it actually changes anything in the clutch or not, but if you put it in work, it's a little more torquey, lower end, not herky-jerky when you're trying to go very slow, trying to like maybe initially pull something, as it would be in standard performance. When we ride on the trails, I rode in performance all the time. and it was pretty responsive. Has the horn right there, pretty loud. It's actually louder than some of my big heavy equipment, but anyways, we added the garage door opener so we can get in and out of the shop and whatnot, and through our gate. Works out pretty good. And this is the tilt bed functions for the bed, which actually I don't even know if it works. Nope, it's on the ignition, so I will show that once I fire it up. Up top here we have the windshield wipers, 2 speeds only, and the bug squirter. You got your mirror here, and then of course I mounted the winch control up there, which just pops out there of the little holder. And then you got an LED roof light, which isn't really terribly bright, but I guess it's better than nothing. It does have seat belts, and it does require you to wear those seat belts. If you don't, it won't allow you to go above 15 miles an hour. So either you wear them or you just buckle it behind you, and you're good to go. Let's see here. So yeah, you got a little cubby here in the door. You got your little crank for your window. I did find that depending on your seating position, how big of a person you are, this motion of moving kind of hits your leg. So it's a little bit of annoying. I don't know where other location it could have gone, but they do have a power window option, which I looked at, but it definitely wasn't worth the money. And of course you're handled to get in and out, so it works out pretty good. Fuel tank is right down here. Not sure how many gallons it holds. I'm sure you can look it up on the specs, but I think it held almost $40 here when we were filling up. So I'll go around the other side here. You can see the windshield wiper there, so it covers the entire windshield. So it works out pretty good. The antenna for the AM, FM, and weather radio. Underneath the seat on the passenger side, you got a little more cargo area here to work with. Put like a bucket underneath there or something, or maybe a small toolbox. Then you just got this little cubby here to put some miscellaneous stuff in, and then this comes out and you can access the battery and some of the fuses. And not sure what else is in there, but anyways, pretty easy to get to everything. Glove box, it's really deep. Probably goes back about a foot, so it works out pretty good. And then you got this little additional top storage there as well, and some little cubbies up top here. So it works out pretty good. Cup holder over here. Seat does fold up, so if you did want to maybe carry something a little bit bigger in this area, a little bit taller inside the cab for whatever reason, they want to get it wet or that sort of thing, you definitely have that option. It does seat 3, although the third person probably wouldn't be terribly comfortable, but it does seat 3. So I'll do a startup now so you can kind of see how this thing looks here from inside the cab. So to start, actually I guess I don't need to initially start it, but I'll just turn the ignition on, turn the heater off. So the display will go through its thing there. Don't need to press OK, but it speeds things up a little bit. So anyways, I'm sure there's videos out there that can go through all the ins and outs of the ride command, but it's pretty nifty. I won't go through all the details, but basically on the main dash here you have, I'm going to turn that light down a little bit so you can see. You have your speed and your engine RPM, pretty typical information that you'd find with the Polaris setup. I didn't have any problems reading it or understanding things. The only thing is though is that it does have a tilt wheel. I just pull this little lever right here. Depending on where you have that at, potentially the top of the wheel can clip some information here. But it all depends on your seating position and your body height and that sort of thing. So I'm 5'11", and I like to sit relatively close, but not like too far away. But there's really not that much adjustment in the seat, to be honest with you. And maybe go forward like a couple inches. There is no adjustment for the backrest, which kind of sucks. It is a rather aggressive vertical position, at least for long-term riding anyways. When you're just doing tasks around the property or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. But just saying, it would be nice to have an optional function to just maybe tilt back maybe just a few more degrees for some longer endeavors. The seats were comfortable. Didn't have any issues with that. They seem to work just fine there. Plenty of headroom in it, I will say, so don't really have any issues with that. With the heating controls, you basically just have off, 1, 2, and 3, and then of course you can change your temperature here. One thing that is annoying is not all of these buttons light up. So as you can see over here, the lights do, which is nice when you're in pitch darkness to know where those switchers are at. Over here, what you see is basically the only thing lit up. So this doesn't light up, and the only time this lights up is either it's in 4-wheel drive or in 1-wheel drive, not in 2-wheel. Although on the display though, it will tell you what is going on, but it'd just be nice if they would always light up no matter what mode you're in, including your performance modes. So the horn does and the tilt bed does. Garage door is really not that big of a deal because you don't really need that all that often, obviously, out in the field. But so yeah, I'll demonstrate the tilt bed. And I'll try to do this from the window here. So this is basically up and down. So when you're ready to rock and roll, you just hit the up button there and she'll dump. And then it's a pretty decent angle. I didn't have any problems dumping anything. So as you can see, pretty decent there. And then of course, you know, you could put your bed down there. So, and then of course, this will get you some access to the engine components and whatnot. And a little bit dirty, but I would say all in all, going through snow and sand and rock and gravel and everything else for about 100 miles, it didn't fare out too bad. So yeah, it does have adjustable suspension. Apparently you can move this suspension to a different hold position to make it a little more stiffer if you like. I've been thinking about doing that, but the ride right now seems to be sufficient, and it feels good enough. So, all right, so back in here. For the display here, this is basically all your engine information. You can switch to your cameras. There's your rear view. Let me put the bed back down. All right, and then you can switch to your front camera. You can operate these while moving, so that's kind of good. Something unlike my cars, which is mildly irritating, but you can do that, so it's kind of nifty there. Go back to your gauges. You got different modes here for notifications and controls, like your auto brightness and that type of stuff. So, and then of course your GPS. This seemed to work out pretty good, although right out of the box, I know the factory trails or whatever the factory database needs to be updated, because a lot of the trails that we're on were been closed for years. I mean, they had trees growing in them. So I'll have to talk to the dealer about that and see if we can get something updated. And if I remember right, was it in here? Yeah. So in here is the little USB port to be able to update the ride commander. So it's just right in there. You can just plug in a flash drive apparently with the data files on there, and then it does its thing. So I'll talk to the dealer about getting that
But I do like the fact that it's a touch screen. It operates essentially the same thing as a cell phone does, so the user is very familiar with how to operate it. You know, you can move, you can make north straight up or go in the direction that you're going, all kinds of stuff, set waypoints, all that good stuff. So of course it's connected to the phone, have all the contacts. Of course you can make your phone calls from here and messages, all that good stuff. Radio, of course, it can AM FM radio, so you could do that. Your weather radio, of course USB, and then your Bluetooth. And I was listening to some Pandora. I was on the trail there, well, for a while anyways, as long as I had service, but anyway, so it worked out pretty good. And you could use these functions to skip to the next track and pause and that sort of thing. And then your volume controls here. I will say the fidelity of the audio system is not that great, which, you know, anything from the factory is not surprising unless it's a Mercedes, but no, it's okay. Probably need some low end. Whether I do something like that to resolve that at some point, I don't know, but it's very loud in the cabin, so you can pretty much hear the music. It's not really like you're hearing the fidelity anyways, and that's one probably major complaint that I have over this NorthStar is that, you know, I got like $45,000 into this thing, and there's some things that Polaris could have went the extra mile to make it not only a good product but a stellar product. And adding some Dynamat, some insulation in this thing to really quiet down the inside of the cab here would have been quite nice to experience. So, but yeah, there's all kinds of options to go through, and this display is nice, easy to read. I think the size is good, and go from there. Shifter, as you can see, is right here. So high is all the way up, low, neutral, reverse, and park. So it's kind of weird how far down it comes when it's in park, but you know, I guess you get kind of used to it. I've had some issues when this thing is going up a hill and it's coming like at a 45-degree angle up to the crest of the hill, like a very sharp, like a ditch or something, to where when the body twists or the chassis is twisting a little bit, it's pulling out of high gear. Like it goes almost into neutral, and so you have to put the foot on the brake and try to get it to back in. So we'll have to get that sorted out at some point. But I suspect as the body is in torsion, it's lengthening the cable and pulling it out of gear or something. So we'll get it sorted out one way or another. So to start it, all you do is just put your foot on the brake like you would do a car. Start it up. Get all your information right there. And then obviously here as well. You can change the dash color to red or blue. I prefer blue. So the unit itself is actually pretty quiet when it's running, so from the outside it's not really loud. So I like the exhaust level. It's not too gnarly or not too quiet, so it works out pretty good there. I'll show you the hazard lights. So